Good morning, boys and girls. This video is for Thursday, April 30th. And I know you're probably wondering, what's going on? Where's Mrs. Bollinger? Well, I'm doing this video from my house. Just like you're at your house right now, I'm at my house right now. And it's gonna come in handy because I wanna show you how you can do your measuring at your house if you don't have the right items to measure in your math book. So that's one reason we're gonna be doing it today at my house. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start off with is reading Twister on Tuesday. And I know some of you really like this book and you've read ahead. If you have, great. If you haven't, you're going to read today about a grasshopper attack. And that sounds really crazy, but actually I had heard of that before in the Little House books because Laura and Mary and the Ingalls family, they experienced a real grasshopper attack in real life because that's based on a true story. Now this is fiction, but it's historical fiction, which means it's based on things that could have happened. So that may be where they got the idea of having a grasshopper attack in this story. Okay, so in your little booklet, hopefully you're done now. If you have to fill in any of these, go ahead and do that. But the only activity you have today is to color it and put your name on it so you're ready to turn it in on Friday. So now I'm going to show you your spelling work, and we're doing sort 30, the oi and oi words. So this is going to be page 120 in your spelling book. And this is a little tricky, so let me show you how it works. I'm going to write it on a card because I don't want to write in this actual book. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to choose beginning and ending letters to make a word that has OI or OY in it. Now, it's easier with the OY because I told you a hint. OY comes at the end of the word. So all you do is take a letter and put it in front. P-O-Y, is that a word? No. What about S-O-Y? Oh, hey, that's soy. That's one of the words we have. Write it down. What about B-O-Y? Does that work? Yes. And you just go through the letters and see if you can make them work with O-Y. Okay? You don't have to fill every line, just try to see how many you can get. You can look at your spelling list if you need help. Now let's do the OI words. This is a little tricky, so I'm going to help you out with a couple. So what about P-O-I? Can that make a word? Well, I'm not seeing a word like that in our spelling list, but look at, I see N-T. If you put P-O-I-N-T, what does that spell? Point. So that's how you're going to do it. What about if I put S in front? I know that that spells a word, right? What word is that going to spell on our list? Hey, wait a minute. Soil. Okay, so you just find words like that. Oh, wait, what about the SP? I see spoil over there. Let's see, I don't see any moist, M. But I see some words that start with J. Maybe we could get a word that starts with J-O-I. You have two over here. I see words that start with C. So between looking at these letters and looking up at your list, hopefully you can fill in most of these lines here. Now I'm going to show your handwriting on page 66. We're doing day 4. You should be like one big happy family, full of sympathy towards each other, loving one another with tender hearts and humble minds, from 1 Peter 3:8. So this is kind of a long sentence, but let's talk about what it means. If you're a big happy family, what does that mean? That means you get along. Sympathy means you feel for other people when they're hurting. You have compassion toward them. You love them, it says. You're tender-hearted. Remember we talked about tender-hearted before. It's the opposite of being hard-hearted. It means you try to understand them. You try to just think about how other people feel. And you have humble minds. That means you don't think you're better than everybody. Wouldn't that be nice if you treated your brothers and sisters and your parents like this? And then when you come back to your school and team, if you treated your teammates like this? I think that's what the Bible's trying to tell us here. So the first thing you're going to do is trace it. Now remember, if you're really having trouble tracing it and writing it, then go ahead and just go to the writing part. But it will help you out if you trace it first. I saw some really nice cursive last week. Thank you for taking your time and doing a good job. So you're going to go ahead and trace it. And then you're going to write it on a page from the back. So you pull out any page you want from the back of your book. I think you know how to do this by now. Now, I like to get my book out of the way. I'm on a big table, so I have plenty of room to work. Okay, so now I'm going to indent 2 fingers and I'm going to start writing. And remember, you're using a pencil. I always do it in pen just to make sure you can see it better. You should, and I'm going to keep going. And then I'm going to remember at the bottom of the page to put my name. And if you want to color it, you may, but you don't have to. So now for our math, we're going to be doing, in our math book, feet and yards, page 651. So you're going to need your tools. You need a ruler, use a paper one or a real one. You're going to need a yardstick. Now I'm guessing some of you don't have one of these. So that's why I gave you a paper. Now I've already cut it and it said yard at the top. And what you're going to do is you're going to take these 4 pieces and make your own yardstick. So let me show you how to make a yardstick with this. So do you notice it says 9 and 9? You're going to have to overlap that, and you can either glue it or tape it. I think I'm going to use some tape, and I'm just going to tape it. Now, if I do it at the end, that's not going to be the right measurement because the 9 and the 9 have to be in the exact right place. So I'm going to go ahead and overlap it and take a piece of tape and tape it. Okay, now on this part, it's 18 inches, and I have to find the 18. And I'm going to overlap that, try to line it up evenly. This won't be exact, but it's close enough for measuring. All right, and then the last piece, we're lining it up at the 27. It doesn't matter which one you put on the top and which one you put on the bottom. Okay, so once you do that, you have a yardstick. And it should be close to my actual yardstick. Let me see if it is. It's actually not exact, but it's pretty close. Okay, we're gonna say that's close enough. On the copy machine, it can't get exact. All right, so you're gonna be measuring a foot and a yard. So a foot is your ruler. That's 1 foot. 12 inches is 1 foot, and then a yard is 3 feet. Okay, another way you could do it is you could measure 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet. But we're going to practice using our yardstick. So the first thing you're going to do is just by looking at the picture, you're going to say, if I have these items in this picture in real life, which one would be too big to measure with my regular inch ruler? Okay? You're going to circle the objects that can be measured with this. So for example, the sun. Could you measure the sun with this inch ruler? Absolutely not, right? Could I measure the exit sign with this inch ruler? Oh yeah, so I would circle that. Now if there's something that's very large, but it just wouldn't be the right way to measure it, you can X it out. Like something very large, like a basketball hoop or a door or the basketball court, I would just think that it would be really a hassle to try to measure it with this inch ruler. It'd be much better to use a yardstick or even a tape measure. This one's from my garage. So maybe you have one of these at home too. Now when I looked at my tape measure, I noticed that it does have feet here. So you can use a tape measure. Do you see that? Where it says 1 FT. It has feet, but it doesn't say yard on mine. Yours might. But see, when I get to 3 feet, it doesn't say yard, but that is also a yard. So I could make my measuring tape or tape measure. That's 3 feet right there. Okay. So now you're going to go around your house and measure these items. Now, these are items you find at school. So some of them you might or might not have. So what I'm going to do is before I do any measuring, I'm going to estimate. So I'm going to think, do I have a desk I could measure? And I'm going to guess how many feet that is. Now remember, the feet is your ruler. Now on this big desk, I'm going to measure it in yards. So I'm going to have to say how many yards that is. So pay attention to the units if you're measuring in feet or yards. You're going to estimate all these before you get up and measure anything. Now, if you don't have these exact items, you need to think about what you're going to use. Okay, I don't have this exact desk, but in my living room, I'm going to show you something that I could measure that would be like this. It's a little end table, old-fashioned desk. Let's say I don't have a desk like this. I can measure this table I'm sitting at. So I'm going to go around and do that, measure a couple with you. Also, chairs. Hey, I'm sitting at a table with chairs. If you don't have a bulletin board, maybe you could use a large picture. You might have a bookshelf. If you don't have a filing cabinet, you could measure something else that's kind of boxy, like maybe some kind of a coffee table or an end table or anything else you can just write what you measured. So when you're thinking about your estimate, you need to make sure you're thinking about the item that you're gonna measure. And this is a large book that we would have at school, but just maybe the largest book you have, how many yards with that? Okay, now I need to tell you one thing about estimating. You can't put 0, okay? Let's say you're measuring something and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to measure with a yard, but that's way smaller than a yard. You still can't put 0. You would have to put 1 if you think it's smaller than a yard. Because when you estimate 0, then that won't give you any information. Because you don't, yeah, it just, that doesn't work when you're estimating. You have to at least put 1, okay? So remember, when you're measuring, look at this picture here, 3 rulers equals 1 yardstick when you're estimating. And most of these, you're gonna be estimating in feet, but these last 2, you're gonna be estimating in yards. Then when you get to the next page, you're gonna be talking about some word problems, and we just have to keep remembering, this ruler's a foot, and this is a yard, which is 3 feet. So I'm gonna show you how to measure something at home. Okay, so I'm gonna take my ruler, and I'm gonna measure feet. So I'm gonna measure this little desk as my desk. Okay, so when I'm measuring, I can tell that it's gonna be taller than this ruler. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line it up, and then put my finger and go back and line it up again. Okay, so that's 2 rulers plus a little bit more. Now, the question is this little bit more closer to a whole ruler or not? No, I don't think that's close to a ruler. So this would be 2 feet. Now I'm gonna do my bookshelf. Now my bookshelf over here is much bigger than the bookshelf in the picture. That's okay. And did it show to measure across or up and down? That's what I have to figure out. Hold on one second, let me check. Okay, so my book said, my bookshelf, I was supposed to measure how tall it was. And I'm supposed to measure in feet. So I wanna check that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna put it down and I'm gonna put my finger. And I'm gonna put it down and I'm gonna put my finger. And I'm gonna put it down, so that was 3, 4, 5, plus almost another ruler. So that's about 6 feet. Now, is that the easiest way to measure this? It might be easier if I took my yardstick and I measured on that, because this would be almost exactly 6 feet is 2 yards. So I could measure with my yardstick, but I still have to count the feet. Another, maybe even easier way would have been using that tape measure, but we haven't got to that yet. We're gonna get to that next page in our book. So go ahead and do these pages by using your inch ruler and using that fake yardstick I gave you, and then we'll get to figuring out what's the easiest way to measure later. Now for our science, we're going to be doing something called Genius Science, and you're going to go to the link that I have on the website and you're going to watch a video. It's about 11 minutes, I think, and it shows you some real live animals, and they're going to be talking about habitat. Now you've already read in your Scholastic about some different habitats, like a forest habitat, I think, and an ocean habitat. So this is going to be telling about habitats, and you're going to answer these questions from the video. Now, at the end of the video, it's going to tell you that you can make yourself a diorama. Well, you're not going to do that because we're already making a triorama, which is 3-sided. Remember? Cooper showed us a picture of his triorama. Now, originally, I had given all this information and I had told you that it was going to be due next week. Well, I'm pushing back the date to May 15th when you need to finish your triorama. But you do actually need to do your triorama, okay? You saw the pictures of Cooper's. There are some more pictures on the website. I've shown pictures to your parents. So now it's your time to work on it. So in the video, I just thought you might like to get some ideas of what you can do. But you're not using a shoebox. You're making yours based on the directions I gave you, and it's going to be made out of poster board folded like a triangle kind of, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and let you get started on that, and I'm going to include this in your work next week just so you remember what you're supposed to do. But remember, it's going to be due by May 15th. It's totally fine to turn it in early, but I want you to start working on your triorama. That's something that you can work on Fridays. because I'm not going to be giving you any new work on Friday, remember. Or you can do, of course, those honors classes. But let's get going on that triorama you're doing on your insect. Okay, so today you're going to finish up your quilt square. You should have already put your name and drawn a picture of yourself here. So today is the day that you color in the quilt. Now remember, on quilts, you're going to be coloring these different colors, at least 2 colors, not the same color next to each other, so it's like a patchwork. And then you're going to cut it out and glue it on your construction paper. So I'm showing you how your construction paper is already cut this size, and you're going to glue it in the middle like a frame. Your construction paper might not be green. Okay, so that's what you're going to do to finish your quilt square so we can have our class quilt that goes along with our Pioneer unit. Okay, I have a couple other things to show you. Now, I gave you some extra credit pages, so I just want to quickly, if you want to do these, this one is a word search. I think it tells you exactly what to do. And then this one is a Pioneer game that you can play, and the directions are right here. Now, some people were a little confused about what to do with the ladybug. So the ladybug, you're going to color it. I didn't color it. And you're going to get the pieces, and one of these wings you need to flip over in order to make it fit together. So I gave you a little fastener, and I've already poked holes in this. I used a sewing pin because that's what I had at my house. And I'm going to push these through and then fold it back. And once it's colored, you won't be able to tell that this one was flipped on the back. Okay, and then you can open your ladybug and close your ladybug like that. Okay, for your recess activity, that's your optional activity. I saw so many people playing in water that I thought that would be a fun idea to do today. So we saw Samuel using his squirt gun. We saw Isaiah Garcia and Jeremiah going in the pool, maybe even some more of you. I think Izzy was going in the pool. And then Cooper told us about doing water balloons. That sounds like fun. There's always running through your sprinkler. You could do that. Another thing that's kind of fun that I used to do when I was a kid is we'd have a water baggie fight where you'd fill up baggies and you'd throw them at each other. It actually works easier if you use a paper cup. So you can kind of get a bucket and get a paper cup and just keep dipping it in and throwing it at your brothers and sisters. Now, if you don't have any brothers and sisters, you have to be a little bit creative about how you can have fun in the water. But it's been so hot lately, I think you might like that, to run around and get wet. Now, I was trying to think if there was anything else I needed to tell you. Oh, I did. Okay, one more thing. Tomorrow, Friday, on Zoom, we're going to have share day. So that means you can either send me a picture or you can hold up your sharing for us to see on the Zoom meeting on Friday. But you might want to be thinking about that today, what you want to show. And I'm just making it free choice, so you can do whatever you want. Just share one thing. Last item of business. If you're watching this video in the morning, remember, today's Zoom is going to be at 2 o'clock, and there's going to be a new code that I sent your parents on Remind. So just remember, today we will not be meeting at 9:15. Just today only, we will be meeting at 2 o'clock. So I will see you later. Goodbye.